Hello, ladies and gents. We're here with Bored Lizzie and a video entitled I Never Wanted to Be a Feminist. This will be the only time I say that, as she says it as a refrain, as though somehow this were slam poetry or something. It's not. It's not poetry at all.
Hello, I'm Bored Lizzie, and I never wanted to be a feminist.
Well, I'm Bored Hagbard, and I'm most assuredly not a feminist. I never wanted to be either.
Does anyone really want to be a feminist? It's
No,
no fun.
you're right.
Suddenly, you have problems. You have problems when you are a feminist that other people do not see and do not notice. And
You have problems when you adopt a newer religion that other people don't see due to their lack of faith.
when you speak up, it looks like you're complaining. No one likes a complaining pants.
No, no, they don't.
No one likes a whiner.
Mm-mm.
I never wanted to be a feminist. 'Cause
And yet, here you are, dyed red hair and all, giving us a lecture.
it makes certain people more difficult to listen to.
Like stand-up comedians.
It makes certain comments more tough to swallow.
Oh, so it robs you of your sense of humor.
Suddenly, you see the invisible shades of shit that the world is painted in when you're trying to go through your life as a woman.
There's an old joke about Christianity. A priest meets an Eskimo, teaches him all about the religious practice, goes on to explain heaven and hell, and that if you do good, you go to heaven. If you do poorly, you go to hell. Well, the puzzled Inuit says, well, what would have happened if you'd never told me? He said, well, you'd go to purgatory, and at the end times, you'd go to heaven. Obviously, I mean, you had no chance to choose. Then the Inuit said, well, then why'd you tell me? I get that feeling from feminism a lot.
Never wanted to be a feminist. Nope.
Nope, no one does.
It would be so much nicer if we could all say we were humanists.
You can. You're choosing not to.
And, oh, I'm just for humanity, I just fit people. Gender doesn't matter to me. And
See, I say that. What's the problem there?
it's, why do we need feminism anyway?
Please don't zoom in on the screen like that. That was super creepy.
Can't it just be peopleism or personism?
Or egalitarianism, or humanism, or...
I never wanted to be a feminist, but at
But you found out that it benefited you exclusively and decided, hey, I gotta get on board.
some point when I was very, very small, I realized that whenever anyone said the word kid, the person that popped into my brain, the mental image I got, was of a boy.
Well, that could be one way or the other. First and foremost, that sounds very personal and internal of a problem. And secondarily, perhaps that's because you see all boys as kids instead of all boys as young men. I don't know, that's up to you.
And I didn't understand why I automatically associated kid with boy when
Because you're deeply damaged tomboy, I'm guessing.
girls are also kids. I grew up in a world in which a default person is a man.
No, you didn't. You've projected that onto the world you grow up in.
And it's just sort of expected to be that way. It's just sort of expected to be that way. A stick
That's not really an elaboration there, is it?
figure doesn't become a woman until you add that little triangle skirt, right?
Or long hair, which I've seen kids use to denote females, which, I have long hair, but yeah, I don't take offense to that. Just like I'm sure that, a Scotsman in a kilt doesn't think he's a girl. I mean, you struggling with cultural norms now?
The default is a man, is male.
Well, then you guys throw the default into the grindstone quite a bit.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a feminist, but something really
But something snapped in your sad little head, and now you are.
bothered me about that idea. I
Something bothers me about that idea, too. I just have a feeling it's not the same thing that bothers you about it.
never wanted to be a feminist. But when you're growing up
But you decided to write a weird, udrybig, udbeatered slab poem and use this as your refrain.
in a Christian household, it's hard.
Ah, there we go. I kind of could have figured that. Usually these can... Oh my god, it is. It's her. I think I've hit a time loop. Go back in my history. There's another red-headed feminist that ex-Christian, and I called it, oh my God, this is her. I think we have entered a time loop. This is her future, like 20, 25 years from now. She should probably look forward to this. I mean, yikes.
Hard not to notice the inequalities that exist between what men are supposed to do, what women are supposed to do, the roles.
I agree. There are massive inequalities, like for the fact that I can be drafted at any given time, the fact that it's questionable in our society to snip your genitals before you reach maturity. There's the whole fact that there are custody battles that are regularly won by women in spite of the fact that they have, mental issues or things like that. But, females are good caregivers, so you got to give them that. Oh, you were talking about. Oh,
We're supposed to play. And it becomes really apparent when you're growing up, when you're moving from girl to teenager. A whole lot of crap suddenly is unleashed and falls upon your head with a mighty force.
so you think that it's only girls that experience a large shift when they hit puberty? Okay, go on.
And suddenly there are a whole lot of new problems in your life based on the fact that you're a woman and you're growing into a woman's body, and there are people who want you to be a certain way. And
Okay, let me clarify something for you. Everybody experiences this. It is called a transition into adulthood. That everyone experiences a great shift in the expectations that others hold upon them when they transition from, in your case, girlhood into womanhood, and in a man's case, from boyhood into manhood. How do you not understand that everyone in society has fucking expectations put on them?
there are rules.
Everyone has rules.
Lots of rules and expectations put upon you as
As you become an adult, go on.
a girl growing into a woman. And I never wanted to be a feminist, but that made me.
But you decided to infantilize yourself almost permanently because it was easier than making that transition from girlhood into womanhood and actually taking responsibility for yourself.
My life difficult. That made my life tough. There's that verse in the Bible about how women should be silent in
Okay, why are we talking about the Bible? It has no relation to society, like whatsoever.
church. How it actually goes is it's Peter saying that he doesn't allow women to speak in his church, and there's a specific reason behind that, but that's not how it's taught. The way it was taught to me by the church and by my own father was that women aren't allowed to be preachers.
Wait, you mean religion takes samples of certain things from its books and manipulates them to allow for power plays within the population? It's totally new to me. That's amazing.
Women can't teach men because women don't have as much influence as men and
Well, luckily in our society there are no female teachers or professors or leaders whatsoever. Oh, wait.
are inferior in that way, and you just can't have a woman preacher. You just can't. And that was really difficult to sit and swallow with a smile. The fact that my voice, because it's a woman's voice,
In the church, not in society as a whole, in your church, which I advise you stop going to because they're feeding you bullshit, but then again you may have already stopped going and now instead of being a Christian, you're a feminist.
automatically is no good and useless and worthless and who cares? Because woman, because lady.
Well, I hear pretty regularly that my opinion being dismissed by feminists because I'm a man. That's what your religion teaches, dear. The exact opposite. Not egalitarianism, not equality. The exact opposite.
Because you're worth just a little bit less. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I never wanted to be a feminist, but
But here we are, staring at your overdone eye makeup, hearing you whinge about minor things that you personally have experienced that have nothing to do with reality.
holy cow.
Yep.
That was a tough one to swallow, yeah. I never wanted to be a feminist, but then there
But the words just feel so good in your mouth over and over again, so.
was that time in third grade when I called
Wait, we're going back to third grade?
out a boy on being sexist.
You were calling out boys in the third grade for being sexist? I bet you were fun to be around.
And everyone, the entire class, turned to me and went, ooh, because sexism is a dirty word.
Well, no, because sex is part of the word sexism, and most third graders have just learned the concept of that, and, Yeah, everybody reacts like that in the third grade. You're not special. That moment wasn't special.
Well, no, sex is the dirty word. It was
Uh-huh.
just, well, let's just say that the teacher had to stop class and explain to everyone
Well out of age context due to your precociousness and obsession with, sexism.
why the word sexism wasn't dirty. I guess thank you, Saved by the Bell, for teaching
Fuck you, Saved by the Bell, for influencing this young girl into thinking that she needed to be a feminist in third grade.
me what sexism means. So I had a name for that weird feeling in my gut I got whenever anyone said something like girls are less, girls are no good, girls are different because of
Okay, so in the third grade you're talking about. You're talking about in the third grade, when children are just starting to, differentiate between the sexes and make comments like that to say, I am not a girl, I am a boy. And they've defined themselves as such, but that's too much for you. You think that just goes on forever into adulthood. It may have for you, but for most of us, we grow the fuck up.
this. Yeah. Never wanted to be a feminist, but
Neither did I, and here I sit, still not a feminist. Imagine that. I never wanted to be an axe murderer either, but, if someone sat me down and explained to me the tenets of axe murdering, I probably wouldn't go with that either.
hey, I grew up in the 90s and they
So
gave
did I.
me a name for my problems. Never wanted to be a feminist. It's no fun.
You're right, you are no fun to be around.
It's a downer.
You are a downer, a massive downer.
No one likes to be told that they're wrong or that the things that they say and enjoy are unfair to people in some way. But hey, never wanted to be a feminist, but here
I think she is reading this as a slam poem. I just realized that. She keeps looking off screen. You have this written down? I don't have anything written down for this. I think this is a joke. Jesus, you're reading this?
there I was as a 11, 12-year-old kid
Being as obnoxious as you were in the third grade.
rifling through dusty long boxes of comics at my local comic book shop and opening them up and peeking into the tiny, small microscopic print to see
Completely and utterly obsessed with my own sex.
the name of a woman as an artist, as a writer, as any kind of creator. What I was looking for was an example to follow. I wanted to look and
Why did you need an example? The creator of comic books was a man and he didn't have any examples before that, see? He just made it. Do you understand that you've been permanently infantilized? That you're talking like you need to be led to water to drink?
see that, oh, women are allowed to do this. Maybe that means
You are allowed to do this. They just didn't in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s when comics were first being made, and it still wasn't, a cool thing to do for girls or even boys until quite recently when Hollywood started paying excessive amounts of money for this shit.
that someday I could do this. And
You
there
could
were
have.
none. Every so often I'd come across like a Leslie or a Stacy, and they turned out to be men. So yeah, things are a little better now. There's a handful of women making comics, but back then there was nothing.
That's because back then only the dorkiest of dorks was into Do you not? You were unusual being into comics first and foremost. It's even more unusual that you were a female. That's just the norm. No one imposed that. Girls just weren't into comics. They just simply weren't. I mean, they even tried. They even put out Wonder Woman, and most girls weren't into that. Oh yeah, a man invented Wonder Woman.
And the image of fully grown women that were shown to me in comics and all other media, it was telling me, guess what you have to look forward to when you grow up? You can grow up to look like a blow-up doll, or you're invisible.
So the male interpretation in comics. Why did Peter Parker have to go from a skinny, no muscle having dork to a Ripley muscular lean guy? I'm supposed to look like Superman. I mean, God forbid, the Hulk. I mean, do you not understand what you're saying? That everything in a comic is idealized? That's most fantasy is idealized? What is it that you feminists have against idealization? We've done it all throughout art history. I mean, just look at the history of the world. We've always idealized. For a very brief period of time, we were obsessed with realism. But we mostly do stylize the things that we like. Why does this offend you so greatly?
And those are the two options. Porn star, blow up doll, invisible.
Rock hard rippling ads, skinny dork.
Those were the two options for a grown woman shown to
Those were the two options for a grown man shown to me.
me, and I mean rad, yeah? Boys can grow up
Yeah, fucking rad.
and become doctors and lawyers and preachers.
I don't know why you're so obsessed with becoming a preacher. I mean, obviously you still got to do that. You are a preacher, like right now you're preaching feminism. Do you not see that?
Anything they damn well please, but you ladies,
You still can, and comics don't influence reality, you nutball.
well, oh, there is another option. You can be a housewife or you can have a porn star body. Those are the two.
Okay, or you could be a reporter, or you could be a photographer, or you could be... Did you read? I thought you read comics. I thought you knew that sometimes the female characters were indeed employed.
Those are the two. Just choose.
Fuck, one was a scientist. Jesus.
Madonna, whore, you can be one or the other, and you should be happy, because if you don't want to be either of those, then that just means you're jealous, and suck it up.
So men are given the dichotomy that you can be a family man, or you can be a man whore. We're given the same expectation on slightly different terms, dear. The very same expectation. And if you think that men aren't ridiculed for breaking those expectations and choosing either to not get married and continue to sleep with random people, or, I mean, look at the MGTOW movement or MRAs and see if they're not stigmatized. I'm neither one of those, by the way.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a feminist, but
But here we sit, with you talking to us about feminism.
that version of that image of womanhood as it was given to me through
That you deeply internalized for no reason whatsoever because they were comics.
the media, through the church, through friends, through
Again, the church comes up. It appears to be the main thing that influenced your damage here.
family, through the entire world I lived in. That seemed unfair to me. It seemed unfair to me. I wanted more options. I wanted
You have all the options, dear.
someone to say, look, you can actually do things.
Why did somebody have to tell you that? Do you lack confidence that much? No one tells most people that they can do something, least of all innovative, novel things. They just do them, usually in spite of people saying they can't.
But that wasn't the message I got. The message I got was, look, you can grow up and you should look a certain way. And you should be a sex object, or you should be a sexless mother, housewife. Yeah.
Again, the exact same things that are done to men. But yeah, go ahead. It's not like there are any physical standards that are implied upon manhood or any visual standards or anything like that. No, it's just you ladies. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I didn't want either of those. So yeah, never wanted to be a feminist,
But you saw so much power in the word, and you realized that you could use it as a tool to gain your own.
I wanted more for myself.
Oh, she's going to admit it outright. Fantastic. I legitimately haven't seen this all the way through.
Than what the world gave me. And eventually
Gave you? You want to be given more?
I realized the only way I'd ever be able to get closer to that was through
Was to take it through your own skill and self-worth?
feminism. It gave me a language to
Feminism.
use, a set of ideas to consider about the fact that women should, have
Wait.
equal rights. It gave me a language to use, a set of ideas to consider about
Wait. A language to use and a set of ideals to consider. Rhetoric and religion. Oh, okay.
the fact that women should, have equal rights.
You do, if not more than equal rights.
And the hope that lawmakers and the people in charge of this world also would like women to have equal rights.
Quick, name me 3 laws that you have to follow that I don't as a man, or 3 rights that I have that you don't. Quick, name me 3. Any 3. I'll take them.
Because that's them telling me that I'm a human being, and I get to make decisions about my own life.
You've already done all that. Do you not see how this feminism shit has brainwashed you into believing that it's not so, thus making you behave as though it were not so?
I never wanted to be a feminist, but I just about.
I never wanted to be a feminist, but I just about am tired of hearing you say you never wanted to be a feminist. I mean, how is this the refrain you chose? It is so obnoxious.
Blew my top when I read that the Equal Rights Amendment had not been ratified. When I very first learned that,
Oh,
that was clear example of
you buying bullshit.
no one really cares about women. No one cares about women specifically. And that's
Oh, now we're getting to the meat of it specifically.
really all feminism is. It's caring about women specifically. That's why it's.
Oh. Well, at least she's willing to admit that it's only about women. Most feminists will bullshit you and try and fleece you and say it's about equality, but this one's got her integrity intact.
Called feminism.
See?
Don't be scared to call yourself a feminist if you think
I'll never be calling myself a feminist, thank you.
women should have equal rights. There's no reason
No, that's egalitarianism. Women do have equal rights. Moving right along.
to be afraid of that word. There's no reason to turn it into a stupid semantic debate about.
But you just defined it in a manner in which I find it displeasing. It's not a semantic debate at that point. It's me disagreeing with the point. A semantic debate would be what feminists do when they try and redefine feminism as egalitarianism. You started that.
How it should be called something else. If you specifically care about women,
Specifically, she's sounding like the Black Lives Matter guys. Like, it's about equality, but specifically it's about black people's equality. Like, well, you have equality, you're choosing to use it badly. No, it's about oppression. No, it's about you whining.
if you specifically think that we're human beings,
Everyone does, but go on.
equal to other human beings who are
Uh-huh.
men, you're a feminist. It's okay.
No, you're an egalitarian. See, you're redefining the terms after having just defined them as being about women's issues. You're confusing yourself.
Hey, it's all right. Doesn't mean anything other than that. Equal rights. Yeah,
No.
I never wanted to be a feminist, but
But here we are, once again, listening to you say it.
for a good number of years when I was growing up, I decided to hate other girls. I decided to hate girly things. I decided
Oh, I was right. She was a tomboy. Shocking, really, because now the whole overdoing the femininity thing doesn't give that away.
to hate most of the women I had to look up to because I hated the fact that they couldn't be like men. I hated.
This sounds like you have just some really deeply seated issues that have absolutely nothing to do with politics or law. They have to do with your own gender. And that's nothing to do with us, ma'am.
The fact that they weren't showing themselves what I wanted. They weren't showing me what I wanted to be. They were just
They weren't catering specifically to your demands as a child. I don't even understand what this is.
showing what women were allowed to be because they were caught up in that same system.
Wait, you said you grew up in the 90s. There were plenty of strong female figures in the 90s. Not one or two, many, many. It was a thing in the 90s. It was like part of this movement in the 90s. You familiar with like a Margaret Thatcher, or familiar with any of the female figures that we've celebrated, like Harriet Tubman or anything like that? None of that stuff that they were exemplifying in the 90s? No. You didn't internalize any of that. You internalized self-loathing for some reason.
That I'm growing up in and that I'm a part of. I mean, heck, I shave my legs, I put on makeup, I do the woman thing to the extent that I am able, and most of the time I feel like I'm failing, and that's
Again, that's deeply internalized. It has nothing to do with reality.
because the outer appearance of being a woman is pretty fake. It's a performance.
The outer appearance of everyone is pretty fake. It's a performance. Read a book besides feminism. I'm going to have to start saying this to feminists. The same thing I say to Bible thumpers. Read other books. Don't just read a book on the subject you're obsessed with. That makes you stupid.
Anyone can do it. Yeah. And it's not really an identity, it's just a way of looking.
No, it's more than a way of looking. It goes considerably deeper than that. Many people that look female or look male are indeed not male or female upon further examination. That's a thing.
So yeah, I never wanted to be a feminist,
But you decided to attempt to wrest control from other people around you while using the word.
if I want to survive in this world with my
Okay, now we're just getting dramatic.
my emotions and my brain and my well-being intact. I
At least one of those three is already not intact, dear.
need it. That's the scary thing, is it's
It is scary that you've been convinced to be so scared that you need it. That is horrifying. It's like the Fox News of the left got a hold of you, and now all of a sudden you're afraid of the scary men as opposed to scary terrorism. I mean, I acknowledge both. Terrorism is awful, and men do some bad things. But to be desperately afraid of either one of them in America is a sign of an unhealthy mind. It just is.
kind of a prerequisite for my own sanity. And I
Well, that's terrifying.
still fight against my own internalized sexism because I'm a sexist. Every feminist is also sexist.
Whoa. Alright, so she's just revealing all the negative things about feminism in this and then owning them as though they were acceptable. This will be an interesting one.
That's why we need feminism. That's why it's a thing. Yep.
Huh?
So yeah. Never wanted to be a feminist.
But you're a sexist, and since all sexists are feminists, or at least all feminists are sexist, you decided to jump on the bandwagon. Hey, she said it.
It makes life difficult because life is difficult already. And
You're right. Life is fucking difficult already, but then you've got people like you wandering around and pointing out minor little difficulties that they personally have to put up with and then expecting society to solve them, thus making it more difficult. Thank you so very much for that.
suddenly we start pointing at certain things and naming certain things as part of that difficulty, as obstacles we have to overcome. If you
Obstacles you personally have to overcome that you're trying to make everybody's problem.
want to be part of the solution and make things better for humanity overall,
Be it egalitarian.
call yourself a feminist. Why
No.
not? I mean, it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Listen, okay? It's not a big deal. You have to pray 5 times a day. You have to admit that there's no God besides Allah. You must cover your women. She can't go out without us. If you steal an arm or a hand, your right hand and left foot or whatever will be taken off. If you deny certain aspects of art, we'll cut your head off. But it's not a big deal.
Chocolate ice cream tastes like chocolate. Vanilla ice cream tastes like vanilla. Feminism is about
Feminism tastes like shit.
caring specifically about women.
Exactly.
Never wanted to be a feminist.
But I decided it was the best way for me to gain power.
It gets you a lot of crap on the internet and in real life.
Like this, and you deserve every ounce of shit you get for it.
People think you're trying to start an argument. I'm not.
I know you're not trying to start an argument. I recognize proselytizing when I see it. I've been proselytized to quite frequently. I'm from the South. I know what preaching is, baby. I've seen it all. And this is preaching. That's all this is. So preach.
I'm not. I'm just saying what I'm trying to do to get by and how I'm trying to help people I care about get by. It's with feminism.
This is the same kind of thing that makes people need a religion. This is more proof to me that this is just a replacement for your fallen religion.
Never wanted to be a feminist, but
Never wanted to be a Christian, but they just convinced me one day. I mean, I don't know how they did it. I just let go of my willpower and all of a sudden started reciting their jargons and slogans. And since I didn't have to think, it was like a zen. It felt so much better than having to come to my own conclusions using logic and reason.
hey, I am one, and there it is, and that's it.
And that's unfortunate, and you're going to do this quite a bit because you're obnoxious and don't have a well thought out and reasoned argument.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later.
No, you won't.
Goodbye.
Goodbye indeed. I thank everyone that got through that with me. I was just killing time before I had to take off. And I found this one, which was, I mean, she's great. She's completely off her fucking rocker. But hey, glad to run into her.